What up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and I am here today with the review for Married at First Sight, Season 16, Episode 7. You guys, this episode is titled Jamaican Me Crazy. So before we go ahead and get into this review, if you guys are watching this video or any other video on the channel and you guys aren't subscribed yet, do me a solid favor, and if you want, stop checking me out on this date and having me pay for it at the end of it. Do me that favor by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, turning on your post notifications, and sharing the video, you guys. And with that out of the way, without further ado, let's discuss Married at First Sight. And my bad for burping in y'all face. All right, you guys, so we're gonna open up the episode. So we're still in Jamaica. So the first part of my notes, we're still in Jamaica. And then after that, then we'll go into talking about the couples. So I'm gonna start up with Gina and Clint, right? So Gina. So after last week's review, I did think about the things that had transpired between Clint and Gina, right? And we talked about it. And if you guys watched my live from last Saturday, I talked about it in the live about Gina and Clint. So with Gina and Clint, do I still feel the same way I felt about Clint in last week's episode? Yes, I still do feel the same way. I still do feel that Clint was wrong for what he said, right? But I'm not gonna sit here and make it as if Clint was just the only person who said or did anything. Gina owns a part in this as well. Although she won't own the part in it, she still wants to continuously try to blame Clint. And I'm not here for that, right? So they did eventually make up with each other. And then we see Clint. So Clint, he was out on the beach with, hits from the streets and Chris, right? So he was telling them about the conversation between he and Gina. And, hits from the streets, I knew where he was coming from, but I don't think he expressed it well, right? Because he's trying to say that maybe Gina has an insecurity with her weight, and I don't know if she has an insecurity with her weight or not, but I know what he was trying to say. Maybe him saying he likes more slender, athletic women, maybe that struck a nerve or a chord with Gina, but I don't think Gina has an issue feeling that she's overweight. I think it also just could be a situation where people just don't like anybody commenting on their body types, right? But they do tell Clint that he has a terrible way with the way he delivers things. And absolutely, Clint does have a terrible delivery. So we're not going to sit here and play like he doesn't, right? But like I said a few minutes ago, Gina and Clint, they are in a better place with each other. He apologized to Gina. I don't believe Gina apologized to him. So they talk about, when they get back from the honeymoon, because it's the last day of the honeymoon, he's asking her about her dog, Hank, right? And did she say Hank could go to the salon with her or go to work with him? Go, okay, whatever, right? So let's pause here and move forward. So we see the couple. So the couples all went to dinner, right? So this is where we found out that Clint had apologized to Gina and that they were able to move forward. So Clint got up and stood up at the table, and he apologized to all the women at the table, right? And again, I still don't hear any apologies from Gina, because Gina, you call the man a ginger, you called him a light skin. Now, I ain't never heard of somebody calling a white person a light skin. Never heard of that, but okay. Like, my issue with Gina is the fact that Clint told you offended him, but you doubled down on the offense by saying, oh, people come in and ask for that all the time, and I do hair, so I'm okay to say it. That's just like somebody that's like somebody like me. I'm black, obviously, right? That's like me like me being black, which I am, and having a white friend, and my white friend says, oh, because JB says nigga, then I can say nigga because my friend JB says it. No, it doesn't work that way. So just because you are around people who are gingers and use the term gingers, you don't then have the right to say it. And I just don't understand how Gina doesn't see that, right? So then Gina wants to know how the couples would rate their relationships at this point. I'm like, oh, this is going to be a recipe for a disaster, right? So Mac went first, and Mac is talking about all the speed bumps that are in the relationship with he and Dominique. Every time I look at Dominique looks less and less interested in McKinley. Each time I see her, I'm like, girl, your face is just really basically just telling how you really feel about this man. You and Kirsten's facial expressions say, I don't like this man like that, right? So he is happy to have a partner that he feels will pull him out of his shell. And so he rates him and Dominique about a 7.5, and Dominique agrees with that. I'm like, girl, And you know, god dang on well, you lying that is not a 7.5, right? So then Chris and Nicole go are next. And as much as I like Chris and Nicole, they do trauma bond with each other a whole hell of a lot, right? But Chris says he would rate them at 8.2. And Nicole's like, oh my God, I was going to say the same thing. And it's not because you just said that. So I was like, oh. Again, I like Chris and Nicole, but I've said it plenty of times. With Chris and Nicole, they are going to be a whole lot for me to deal with this season. But we going to rock and roll with Chris and Nicole, but they're going to definitely be a whole hell of a lot, right? So she feels like by the time that they get home, she doesn't want to say that they're a perfect 10 because she feels like when they get back from their honeymoon and get into their regular lives, that, you know, some things are going to come up that they might not necessarily like about the other. And I'm like, I'm pretty positive about that one. I am pretty positive. So Kirsten and Shaq, they're next, right? So Kirsten feels like when it comes to Shaquille, he jokes a lot and there's a time and a place for joking. And Dominique's like, I agree. And my thing with Kirsten is you're talking about him joking, right? But then you say you guys have a whole lot, and there's a lot of things that you guys do have in common on paper, right? But then she would say she rates them a solid, what does she give them? She says a 7, and Shaq says he agrees. I'm like, girl, you mean a 7? A 7. Should we subtract a few numbers from that? And should we subtract about 4 or 5 numbers from that? Because girl, I think you mean it's probably like a 2, a 3, or maybe even a 4. But I damn sure don't believe she's a 7. I don't think she's at a 7 with him. Now, Shaq may be at a 7 with her, but she's definitely not at a 7. There is no attraction to this man. Like, I just want her to be open and honest about that. So then next up is Jasmine and Hits from the Streets, right? So Jasmine feels like things are good, but you know, they've had some hiccups, you know, the fact that he's never been in love before, and she says that she falls in love, you know, pretty quick. She falls in love pretty fast. And I get where she's coming from. You know, she's saying that I fall in love really quick. I fall in love fast. And I don't want to fall in love with my husband. And we come to the end of this process and he's not in love with me. So I get where she's saying, but then she also says, you know, maybe the girls before me wasn't the right girl, and maybe I am the right girl. I was like, I don't think you are, sis. And Jasmine is a beautiful girl. I just don't understand. You know, she's not an ugly girl, and I know everybody's comments it's always about Jasmine's teeth. Jasmine could keep her mouth closed all day, every day, and she's still a beautiful girl. Even if she it's nothing. I mean, they're stacked. She can go if she so chooses to. She can go get Invisalign. She can go get braces. She can go get veneers if she wanted to. She doesn't have to. It's not, teeth don't make a person. Now, am I a teeth person? Unfortunately, I am. I am a teeth person, but I'm a teeth person. But then at the same time, I know my teeth are not perfect, right? I have spaces in my teeth, so my teeth aren't perfect. So I never judge people based on their teeth, but it is what it is, right? So she rates them about a 7.5, and he rates them an even 7. But he, you know, I think Clint at one point asked him, "Do you think you could fall in love with her?" He's like, "Well, we could get there, but you know, it's just so early. We just met each other a week ago. You all met each other a week ago, so stop using that as an excuse, right?" So then we got Gina and Clint, you guys. Gina's happy where they are, but she says that they are at a solid 5, and Clint rates them about a 5.5. I was like, really? I would rate you to about a 1. Just being nice. I might even give you a 2, but a solid 5 and a 5.5. Yeah, I don't see it. But let's pause here, you guys, and let's move forward. All right, you guys. So next up, let's talk about Dom and Mac, right? So you know, one part of me understands Dominique and one part of me understands McKinley, right? And I'm gonna explain why I can understand both of them. I can understand Dominique in the fact that, you know, the things, when it comes down to McKinley, on this honeymoon, he's complained about a lot of the activities that they've done, right? And I can also, I can understand that, her frustration with that, right? But at the same time, I can understand McKinley. This is someone who says he's an introvert. So this is things that are taking him outside of his comfort zone. So he may feel a way about it. So the way to break the ice for him might be to crack these stupid jokes, right? Now, she did make one point, and I was thinking the same thing to myself. It's like, you've talked about things coming out of your comfort zone and you're an introvert, but how did you come to the decision to apply for Married at First Sight and decide to marry a perfect stranger? That is a contradiction to me. I would even say it's an oxymoron, but it's definitely a goddamn contradiction, right? So she also tells him when it comes down to doing the things that they do, don't do it just because he feels it's gonna make her happy. And I agree with that, right? If you don't want to do it, it's fine and okay to say, yo, this ain't something that I necessarily want to do. I feel uncomfortable doing it. It's okay to say that in that moment. It's okay to say that and be okay with it, right? Now, if she gets mad and upset, that's gonna be on her, right? So he tells her and he also did tell her that to him, it feels like, it's either her way or no way. And I'm like, I think you might be 100% correct about that one, right? So, like I said earlier in the review, she just, at this point, I can see that she just ain't feeling the situation with Mac, and she ain't gonna say it, but she definitely ain't feeling the situation with Mac, right? So she asked him when they got back to Nashville and got to the apartment, is he a traditional person when it comes to being in a marriage? Feel like the woman should cook and clean. He says no. He says he's not the best cook, but he can cook. He'll clean, right? So she's good on that issue. So then, as they're going to go to his best friend's parents' house to get his things to go to the shared apartment, Dominique made some very good points in this episode, right? So she's uneasy about the fact that he moved from Michigan to Nashville, and I would be too, right? Because that means that you aren't stable in your life, number one, right? So then, they go to the house, and I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh my God, you gotta have a whole lot of stuff. You don't. There are people who have just basic things in their homes, right? There are people who just, have couch, bed, TV, and they have their little, pictures and things like that, but they don't have an exorbitant amount of things, right, in their homes. But let's see, where do I want to go next? But like I said, she was making some very, very valid points in this particular scene. Because then she said it again, right? Because he was talking about the fact that he didn't want to make a commitment by going into an apartment, because he said at one point in his life, he was paying rent at two places that he hated. Now that's on you. But she did make a very good point, and I was thinking the same thing before she even said it. I was thinking to myself, so you didn't want to go to an apartment, you didn't want to sign a lease for an apartment because you don't want to go into the commitment. But once again, you signed up for this show, which is called Married at First Sight. So you're making the ultimate commitment to be someone's husband. I just didn't understand that, and it's all over the place. Let me know if you guys understand anything that came out of Mac's mouth in this episode. But let's pause here and move forward. So Nicole and Chris. Now, before they left from the honeymoon, Chris was outside and he was crying, and I was like, what's going on with Chris? So turns out the apartment that they're going to be living in, they can only have two pets, right? So, Chris has two dogs, Nicole has one dog, right? So he would have to leave out one of his dogs in order, for her to bring her dog. So he was upset about that. And in this particular moment, I actually really did enjoy this scene because, Nicole was like, we'll figure it out. Whatever we have to do, we'll figure it out. She's like, so we see her, and Nicole went and called her dad. And she was like, do you mind coming up here and, staying with my dog sometimes? Or if that's not going to work, then he can come and stay with you, through the process. And her dad was very accommodating, right? And, Nicole is like, as much as it's going to hurt her, she just I actually really like that she's accommodating to Chris, and the fact that, she's willing to, because she's attached to her dog. But Chris is talking about, how his dogs have separation anxiety from him. It's very admirable to see that from Nicole. I really did like that. Again, like I told you guys, with Nicole and Chris, they are a whole lot for me. But overall, as a couple, I think they're going to stand the test of time with this show and outside of this show. they compliment each other, but at the same time, like I said, it's the thing that bothers me with Nicole and Chris is really just their trauma bonding. So they're in their apartment, and she asks him if he loves her. He says no, but he says, I do like you. She says the same here, but I do like you. I'm like, now, Nicole, there are some times that I feel like Nicole is parroting things that Chris says. I think she asks him certain things so that way she can repeat it back to him. Because when she asked him, do you love me? And he said no. And she says, I don't love you yet either, but I do like you. It just gave me, honestly, it reminded me of Noi from season 14, when she was asking Steve if he loved her on the honeymoon. Who, please don't turn out to be like annoying Steve. Annoying in Steve. But that's really all I got for Nicole and Chris. If I left anything out, you guys can hit me up in the comment section and let me know what I missed. Let's pause here and move forward. I'm gonna go ahead and just get Kirsten and Shaq out the way before I get to Erison and oh boy. Kirsten, I really want you to say to Shaquille, I don't like you like that, right? I'm not attracted to you. It ain't even his bald head. It's not his bald head. So, I'm gonna keep my opinions to myself because I know I'm gonna keep my opinions to myself about what I truly think the issue is. I'm gonna keep it to myself because it's not, it's not for me to discuss, but I think there's something else there, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have already, a lot of people have picked up on it. I mentioned it a few episodes ago. I think when we first started reviewing Married at First Sight. I'm starting to see what people might be seeing now. I do kind of see it. I do see it. I don't think that he's. Well, I'm gonna go flat out and say it. So, y'all know everybody thinks that Shaq is gay. I don't think that Shaq is gay, but I can get a tinge of bisexual from him. I can see it. And if he's not, there's no. I'm just saying it might be his mannerisms, but it just might be a part of how his mannerisms are. But I'm kind of starting to see it just a little bit, and I think Kirsten might be. I think that's why she might not be attracted to him. I think she might sense something is not all the way right. But I wish she would just. My issue with Kirsten is, it's like it feels as if she's stringing him along. Because I just don't think that she likes it. I don't think she's sexually attracted to him. I don't think she's any kind of attracted to Shaq. I want you guys to let me know in the comment section, right? So they were talking about, how is she with closet space? She said her closet is a mess. He's pretty particular, he's organized when it comes to his closet. And, he says they have to learn about each other. I'm like, y'all ain't gonna learn much about each other. You're just gonna learn about the fact that she's really just not that into you, sir. And I want him to, I want him to have whatever he wants, but it's just not with Kirsten, unfortunately. Or fortunately, I don't know which one it is, but it's just not gonna be with Kirsten. Kirsten is just not interested in Shaq whatsoever. But let's pause here and wrap up the episode with Jasmine and Hits from the Streets. All right, you guys, so Hits from the Streets, I just really don't like this man. Because when the same way I feel about Kirsten, stringing Shaq along, it's even worse when it comes to Hits from the Streets. At least with Kirsten, her facial expressions read that she's not interested in the man. She's told him that she wasn't, his bald head and all that kind of stuff. She didn't like that, right? That is the only thing that I can give to Kirsten, is that she said it initially that she wasn't attracted to him, and her face continuously shows it. But Hits from the Streets, he is playing Jasmine, right? I feel like he's playing Jasmine. And let's go back to that hating ass cousin of his, right? We might not, again, I said it last week, we might not like that old hating ass cousin, right? But I think she knew who her cousin was, and I think she just went about it the wrong way. It was as if she has coming at Jasmine, right? At the wedding. It felt like she was coming at Jasmine when it's Eris that is the issue. I call him by his name this time. It's him that's the issue, right? So, remember, in last week's episode, He told the guys that he thinks his wife looks at him as if he's a 12, and she looks at him and he looks at her like she's a 4. And I want you to reverse those roles. Actually, I want you to reverse it. You look at her, you might look at her like she's a 4, but you're a -4 in my book, right? This whole, I know I can't talk about beards right now because mine ain't done. I don't keep a beard, but I know my face ain't done, right? But you got this old struggly ass beard. You're not that good looking. So it's just a no from me. So before they left for the honeymoon, he was talking to her about the dinner, right? And the fact that he gave that pretty low rating, right? And he told her that he felt the shift after he gave his number. She said no. She said, he said because he needed time. And see, that's my other issue when it comes to Hits from the Streets. He keeps wanting to talk about the process. We just met each other a week ago. We just met each other a week ago. Okay, what's your point, right? No one is saying that in a week's time frame you got to be head over heels in love with the woman, but you knew the minute that you laid eyes on her that you probably wasn't that attracted to her. The only thing you probably wanted to do was just take this woman to bed, and then when she didn't have sex with you immediately, you then just dumped her down, right? That's really what I feel, in my personal opinion. I want you guys to tell me what you think below, right? So he then tells her that the vibe that he gets from her is a friendship vibe. And she was in her interview like, I didn't come here to be somebody's friend. I came here to be somebody's wife. And I'm like, well, you might have came to be somebody's wife, and you technically for the time being are someone's wife, but I don't think when it comes to decision day that you're going to be somebody's wife for much longer, right? I was watching, I know Misha was talking about it last week, and I agreed because I had been saying this to myself, that the matches this season, they should have done different couples, right? I think that they should have matched Dominique. Well, initially I wasn't thinking it until we saw them kissing. But initially I was thinking that McKinley should have been matched up with Gina. Eris, I don't know how good it would have been, but I feel like he should have been matched up with Kirsten. Shaq should have been matched up with Jasmine. We could keep Nicole and Chris together. And I just didn't, I would have never put Dominique and Austin Powers, the spy who didn't shag me, together. But I mean, I will put them together now. So, but like I said, he's telling her he's getting a friend vibe from her. You friend zoned her because she didn't sleep with you. I'm just gonna be honest with you. That's why Jasmine has gotten friend zoned, right? So then they get to the shared apartment, and as soon as they got to the apartment, he was delegating, this is your closet space, this is, you don't touch this, you don't touch that. I was like, excuse you? Baby, it wouldn't have been me. I would have been like, okay, so what in here is my, what do I have to say so in this apartment? You could ask me how much space do I need, and I can tell you, but to just come in here and make executive decisions, sir, no. So then we see them as they went to his house. So he has a home gym, and he has a man cave, right? And then they went to his room. Now I will say one thing about him with Hits from the Streets. I wasn't expecting his house to be, I wasn't expecting that what we saw from his house, I wasn't expecting that for it to give what it gave. And it actually looked really nice. It was clean. I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that from him. Because he just from what you see on the show, I just wasn't expecting a well put together house. And it looked really nice. I'm wondering, was there another woman there previously? It must have been. Like I just went on Kirsten, right, about how I wish she would be more honest with Shaq, that she's just not that interested in him. Instead of trying to say that we can get there, you're not gonna get there. I don't think Kirsten and Shaq are gonna get there. For damn sure they're not gonna get there, right? I just don't think they're gonna get there. And I really don't think that Jasmine and Hits from the Streets are going to get anywhere in their relationship. Because I think the standstill in their relationship is really going to be him and that hating ass cousin. I'm hoping and praying we don't have to see that heifer again, but I feel like we're gonna see her pop up at some point throughout the season, right? She's a hater. But like I said earlier, I do understand where she was coming from, but like I said, at the same time, I understood where she was coming from, but the problem, the common denominator in the situation is not Jasmine. The common denominator is your cousin, right? And that's really it, you guys. I'm trying to think if I have anything else that I want to talk about. No, because we didn't see We didn't see Gina and Clint move into the shared apartment because that's going to come up next week when Pastor Cal has a conversation with them about that. We didn't see, yeah, that's the only couple that we didn't see move into the shared apartment, and we're going to see an issue with Dominique and McKinley next week as well. But yeah, you guys, let me know what you guys thought about the episode in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel, turn on your post notifications, share the video. You guys, until the next time, stay safe, take care of yourselves, wash your hands, be blessed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. That's really it. Yeah, that's it, you guys. I did try to watch some of the after show, but I didn't get it. I can't get into the after show because it's already an hour and 30 minutes. And then you want me to watch the after show? I know Stasha was there, I know Jasmine was there, and I know Nicole was there. And I know Stasha and Nate are divorcing. I think I saw that Miguel and Lindy are divorcing too. This show's track record for a relationship, abysmal, terrible. But I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.